For hundreds of years, the story of America has been told from one side. But buried beneath textbooks, monuments, and myths lies a deeper truth. A story of knowledge, connection, and wisdom so powerful it threatened the very systems that tried to erase it. This is the story they never wanted you to hear, the wisdom of Native America, and the hidden truths history tried to bury. Centuries before a single European ship touched American shores, vast civilizations flourished across this continent. The Cherokee, Lakota, Hopi, and countless others. Each with their own language, their own art, and their own way of understanding the world. They built cities that rivaled those of Europe, trade routes that stretched for thousands of miles, and belief systems rooted in harmony, not conquest. But when colonizers arrived, they didn't just take land. They took stories. They took voices. And they tried to erase a way of seeing the world that could have changed humanity's path forever. To understand what was lost, you have to start with how Native people saw life itself. To the Lakota, every stone, river, and mountain was alive, not metaphorically, but spiritually alive. The earth wasn't a resource, it was a relative. They called her Unsi Maka, Grandmother Earth. The Hopi believed humanity had passed through multiple worlds before this one, each destroyed when people lost balance with nature. It was a warning: when humans forget their place in the circle of life, the world resets. A belief that sounds eerily prophetic today. The Iroquois Confederacy, a political alliance older than the United States, built their government on peace and consensus, not domination. When Benjamin Franklin studied their system, he called it remarkable. Yet in the history books, their influence on American democracy is barely mentioned. Native wisdom wasn't primitive. It was profound. They understood the stars not as distant lights, but as ancestors guiding the living. They spoke of 7 generations, the idea that every choice must honor those yet unborn. And while Europe was burning women for practicing medicine, indigenous healers were using willow bark, the same chemical we now call aspirin. Even the Great Pyramids of Cahokia, built near what is now St. Louis, were once larger than London in population. A thriving metropolis powered not by kings, but by community. Yet when archaeologists uncovered it centuries later, they called it a mystery, as if advanced civilization could not exist without European hands. So why did history hide it? Because power fears wisdom that cannot be controlled. Colonial governments quickly realized that native values, equality, sustainability, respect for all beings, were dangerous to an empire built on greed. Missionaries outlawed ceremonies. Children were taken from families and placed in boarding schools designed to, as one official put it, kill the Indian, save the man. They cut their hair. Banned their languages. Beat them for praying in the old ways. And yet, even under that cruelty, the songs survived. The stories whispered through generations. The old wisdom never died, it just went quiet. One story that survived is from the Lakota people, the story of White Buffalo Calf Woman. She came during a time of chaos, when people had forgotten their connection to the sacred. She taught them the 7 sacred rites, ceremonies to restore balance between humans and the natural world. Before she left, she promised to return one day, when the world again stood on the edge of destruction. When a white buffalo calf was born in 1994, elders said it was a sign, a reminder that humanity is once again out of balance. They said, if we forget how to live with the earth, she will remind us. And she is reminding us now. Native philosophy has always been about balance, not just in nature, but within ourselves. The Navajo call it Hajo, walking in beauty. It means living in harmony with everything around you, the wind, the rain, your family, even your own spirit. It's not about perfection. It's about awareness. Modern psychology calls this mindfulness. Native people called it survival. They taught that every decision carries a vibration, a ripple that moves through the universe. If you hunt, you thank the animal. If you build, you bless the land. If you take, you give back. Because in the circle of life, nothing truly belongs to you, it all returns. One of the greatest hidden truths is how native science was centuries ahead of its time. While European settlers saw forests as obstacles, indigenous nations used controlled burns to manage ecosystems, prevent wildfires, and enrich soil. They knew that balance required participation, not domination. Their agricultural methods, known as the Three Sisters, corn, beans, and squash, were a perfect symbiosis. The corn provided a pole for the beans to climb. The beans fixed nitrogen in the soil. The squash spread across the ground, keeping weeds and pests away. A design so efficient, modern permaculture still uses it today. They observed, learned, and adapted through experience, what we now call the scientific method. But because it wasn't written in Latin or backed by royalty, it was dismissed as superstition. Even the idea of wealth was seen differently. To the Lakota, a rich person was one who gave the most away. Generosity was a spiritual duty, not a sign of weakness. In a world obsessed with ownership, that truth was revolutionary. There's an old Lakota saying, "The frog does not drink up the pond in which he lives." They understood something we're still trying to learn, that survival depends on restraint. The wisdom went beyond ecology, it shaped how they saw power itself. Among the Iroquois, leaders were chosen not for ambition, but for character. And women, known as clan mothers, held the authority to select and remove chiefs. Their voices weren't secondary, they were sacred. Yet when European settlers wrote their records, they described these societies as savage, chaotic, or without order. Because they couldn't imagine a world where power didn't flow from the top down. But here's the truth, Native America wasn't leaderless. It was leaderful. Each person was responsible for the balance of the whole. And that's what made the old world so afraid. The colonizers wanted land. The native nations offered lessons. But to learn those lessons meant letting go of control, and empires don't survive on humility. So they burned villages, destroyed sacred sites, and rewrote history so the victors would always look like saviors. Yet, despite centuries of silence, native voices are rising again. Today, elders and youth are working together to reclaim their languages. Languages that describe the world in ways English never could. For example, in the Potawatomi language, there is no word for it. Every living thing has a pronoun of respect, he, she, or they. Even a tree, a stone, a river. Because once you strip something of identity, it becomes easier to destroy. And maybe that's the hidden truth, the one history tried to erase. That humanity's greatest wisdom wasn't found in books or empires. It was sung in the wind, carved in the earth, and passed through generations by those who understood that we are the land. When archaeologists unearthed the remains of Cahokia, they found something astonishing, not just temples and artifacts, but evidence of astronomical precision. The people tracked solstices, lunar cycles, and even built their city around the movement of the stars. Their wood henge aligned perfectly with the sunrise at the spring and fall equinoxes. They understood cosmic balance long before telescopes. Yet in most American schools, Cahokia is a footnote. Not because it wasn't extraordinary, but because it challenges the myth that civilization came from Europe, not before it. There's another story, one of the most haunting. In the Pacific Northwest, elders tell of a time when the salmon stopped running. The people had grown careless, taking more than they needed. So the river spirit withdrew her gift. The people nearly starved, until they performed a great ceremony of apology and gratitude. Only then did the salmon return. It wasn't just a myth. It was a moral code, one that warned of exactly what we face today: climate collapse, greed, imbalance. The kind of wisdom that could save us, if we only listened. The deeper you look, the clearer it becomes. Native American wisdom wasn't lost. It was buried beneath layers of arrogance, fear, and conquest. But the earth never forgets. And neither do her people. Every sunrise, every drumbeat, every child learning their ancestral language, it's all proof that history failed to silence them. There's a saying from the Dene, the Navajo people, "We are the songs our ancestors sang into the earth." That means every step you take, every word you speak, echoes through generations. The ancestors aren't gone, they're watching, waiting, reminding us what balance truly means. And maybe, just maybe, that's why the old teachings are resurfacing now, because the modern world has forgotten how to listen. What if the wisdom we need to heal the planet isn't new at all? What if it was always here, in the rhythm of a drum, in the whisper of the wind, in the silence between heartbeats? The native way teaches that we don't inherit the earth from our ancestors, we borrow it from our children. A truth so simple, yet so powerful, it could rewrite the story of civilization if we dared to live by it. So here's the real hidden truth: native wisdom isn't about the past. It's about the future. Because the more we forget our connection to the land, the more lost we become. But if we remember, if we truly listen, we might just find the balance our world so desperately needs. And as you finish this story, think about this. Every time you touch the earth, breathe the air, or drink water, you are part of the same circle the first people honored. That circle never broke, It's only waiting for us to step back in. If this story made you see history in a new light, give this video a like so more people can uncover the truths that were buried for too long. And subscribe, because the past still has secrets waiting to be heard, and together, we're bringing them back to life.